What is it about a courtroom? What do you get out of being in the courtroom and covering a story?
Every case is a mini drama, and this is really unlike most other stories in journalism. You go to a city council meeting, they pass ordinances and resolutions, and some of them have an effect on your individual daily lives, others don't. But no one's going to die. Whereas in court, especially a state like Alabama where we have the death penalty, in some of those cases, it is literally a story of life or death, and the drama of it always just fascinated me. I've covered a lot of murder trials, a lot of violent crime trials, and invariably you have the prosecutor and the defense and the defendant, and they are up in front of the judge on either side of the courtroom. And then behind them in the pews, you usually have the family of the victim on one side, the family of the defendant on the other side. And they're almost always separated physically like that. And everyone in a trial is going through the same event. And it's very tense and very awkward. And these families see each other in breaks. And to me, it's a small miracle that you don't have more commotion that breaks out. Occasionally you do. Occasionally you'll have members of one side and the other will get into a shouting match, and the courtroom deputies will have to intervene. But usually not. When you get to a courtroom, almost always people obey the authority. They obey the judge. The judge tells them to do something, and they do it. I think that's why the system works. And by the way, I think juries do too, because it is extremely rare, and in Alabama, virtually unheard of, for a jury to be sequestered. You see this on TV, right? We're putting you up in the hotel. That almost never happens just because of the cost involved. So even on a capital murder case, those jurors go home at the end of the day. They go home for the weekend. They come back, and they're not supposed to consider anything except what they hear in that juror box. And the judge says, don't do any independent research about this. Don't read the newspaper. Don't watch television. Don't do your own research on the internet. And I think for the most part, they obey that. I think there's a lot of cynicism in the public that actually works. Either the judge is up there, it's an authority figure in robes, and they say, don't do this. And I think for the most part, they don't. And my experience has been that juries usually get it right. And they're the only ones that hear all of the evidence, which is why I always try to avoid trying to second guess juries. Because even as a reporter, we're usually not there for the entire trial. The only ones who are the participants and the jurors. And I just think it's a great system. And I don't think that there's any greater substitute for liberty than having 12 people who have no stake in something, don't know the people involved. That is so much better than if judges made these decisions, or you had professional jurors or anyone with any kind of a stake in the system.